Before your eyes opened this morning, mercy had already gone ahead of you. The fact that you woke up today is not something to treat as ordinary or automatic, because waking up is never guaranteed. Sleep places every human being in a position of complete vulnerability, where strength, control, and awareness are all surrendered, yet in that vulnerable state, life was preserved. Breath returned to your lungs. Your heart continued its rhythm. Your mind awakened again to consciousness. That alone speaks of a protection that goes beyond human ability. Many people closed their eyes last night with plans for today, with responsibilities waiting, with dreams still unfinished. They assumed they would wake up just as they always had. But morning did not come for everyone. The difference between those who woke up and those who did not is not intelligence, effort, or goodness. It is mercy. The gift of another day is not earned, it is given. When you open your eyes in the morning, you are witnessing grace in action, quietly and faithfully at work. God's protection does not always announce itself with noise or drama. Often it works in silence, unseen and uncelebrated. While you slept, dangers you never detected were held back. While your body rested, your life was guarded. You may never know how close trouble came, how narrowly harm was avoided, or how many unseen battles were fought on your behalf. Yet the evidence of that protection is simple and undeniable. You are still here. Waking up is more than the start of a routine. It is a divine reminder that your life still has value and direction. Each morning you are given is an invitation to continue a journey that is not yet complete. There is still purpose attached to your existence, still meaning woven into your days, still impact waiting to be made. If heaven allowed you to wake up, it means your assignment is not finished and your story is still unfolding. Even on mornings when your body feels tired or your heart feels heavy, the ability to rise is a sign that mercy outweighs weakness. You may wake up with worries, unanswered questions, or lingering pain, yet the fact that you can wake up at all proves that God's sustaining power is stronger than your struggles. Life continues not because everything is perfect, but because grace is sufficient. When you recognize waking up as mercy, gratitude begins to change your perspective. Instead of starting the day focused on what is missing, your heart shifts toward what has been preserved. Breath, life, opportunity, and time have been extended to you once again. This awareness softens impatience, quiets complaint, and anchors the soul in thankfulness. Another morning is not just another day. It is evidence that God has kept you, watched over you, and decided that you are still needed in the world today. Much of God's protection operates beyond human awareness, quietly working in places where eyes cannot see and minds cannot measure. There are dangers that never announce themselves, threats that never reveal how close they came, and moments where one small shift altered the entire outcome of a situation. You move through life thinking events happen naturally, unaware that unseen hands were guiding, restraining, and redirecting what could have caused harm. God often protects not by dramatic rescue, but by silent prevention. There were roads you did not take, conversations you did not enter, delays you once found frustrating that later became shields of safety. A missed call, a late start, A sudden change of plans may have felt inconvenient, but in hindsight, they were acts of mercy. What you considered interruption was actually intervention. God knew what you did not know and saw what you could not see, and in his wisdom, he stepped in without needing your permission. Some dangers never reach you because God stops them before they ever form. Illness that could have developed never took root. Accidents that could have occurred were diverted. Harmful relationships lost their grip. Situations that could have destroyed your peace dissolved before they gained strength. You may never receive a report of what was avoided, yet avoidance itself is evidence of protection. Silence does not mean absence, it often means success. There were moments when your judgment was not at its best, when choices were made out of emotion, pressure, or exhaustion. Even then, mercy covered what wisdom missed. God protected you not only from external danger, but also from internal weakness. He guarded you in times when your faith was unsteady and your focus was unclear. Protection did not withdraw when you were unsure. It remained steady when you were inconsistent. Unseen protection also explains why some doors close without explanation. Opportunities that looked promising fell apart. Paths you were eager to pursue became blocked. At the time, disappointment felt personal, even painful. Yet with time, clarity comes. What was blocked was not a loss, but a rescue. God closed those doors because he knew what was waiting on the other side and loved you too much to let you walk into harm. This kind of protection calls for a deeper level of gratitude, one that goes beyond visible blessings. It invites trust in the God who works behind the scenes, arranging outcomes you may never fully understand. When you acknowledge that you have been kept from dangers you never saw, humility replaces pride and gratitude replaces entitlement. You realize your survival is not solely the result of caution or effort, but the outcome of a faithful God who guards your life even when you are unaware, quietly ensuring that what was meant to harm you never had the final word. Being alive today is not proof that you lived perfectly. It is proof that grace outweighed failure. If life depended on flawless decisions, pure intentions, and consistent faith, none of us would still be standing. Every person carries moments of regret, seasons of confusion, and choices they wish they could undo. Yet, despite the missteps, life continues. That continuation is not a reward for good behavior, but a reflection of God's patience toward human weakness. There were times when you knew better, but did otherwise, moments when emotion overruled wisdom and impulse replaced restraint. You may have ignored warnings, delayed obedience, or walked in directions that did not lead to peace. Still, mercy followed you into those places. God did not abandon you. When you struggled, he waited. He did not withdraw his hand. When you stumbled, he steadied you. Patience is love that refuses to give up, and that patience has been at work in your life more times than you can count. God's patience is revealed in how he allows space for growth rather than demanding instant perfection. He understands that transformation is a process, not a moment. Instead of cutting you off at your worst, he kept you alive long enough to learn, mature, and change. Each day you are given is another opportunity to become wiser, stronger, and more aligned with his purpose. The breath in your lungs is evidence that God believes your future can be better than your past. There were moments when consequences could have been final, when mistakes could have ended everything, yet outcomes were softened, severity was reduced, and lessons were learned instead of lives being lost. That is patience in action. God allowed correction without destruction, conviction without condemnation. He did not excuse wrong, but he refused to let wrong define you permanently. His patience created room for redemption. Even in seasons when faith was weak or inconsistent, patience remained. You may have prayed less, doubted more, or felt distant from God altogether. Still, life did not collapse. Protection did not disappear. Grace did not expire. God's patience is not dependent on your constant awareness of Him. It is rooted in His unchanging character. He remains faithful even when human devotion fluctuates. Recognizing that you are alive because of patience changes how you see yourself and others. It produces humility, not shame, gratitude, not guilt. You stop pretending you survived because you did everything right and begin acknowledging the mercy that carried you through what you did wrong. That awareness softens your heart toward others, reminding you that everyone is still learning, still growing, still in need of patience. Your life is living proof that God does not give up easily, that His grace outlasts failure, and that His patience keeps you standing long enough for purpose to fully unfold. Prayer often becomes a place where needs are listed before gratitude is expressed, where requests rise faster than praise. Yet there is a deeper power when thanksgiving comes first. Gratitude realigns the heart, shifting focus from what is lacking to what has already been given. When you begin prayer with thankfulness, you acknowledge that God has been active in your life long before this moment. You are not approaching Him as a stranger asking for favors, but as a child recognizing a faithful provider. Starting with gratitude reminds the soul that God has already proven Himself. Before you asked for guidance, you remember the times direction was given. Before you ask for protection, you recall the dangers you survived. Before you ask for strength, you reflect on the seasons you endured. This remembrance builds faith because confidence grows when past faithfulness is acknowledged. Gratitude turns memory into fuel for trust. When requests come first, prayer can sound like desperation or entitlement. When gratitude comes first, prayer becomes relationship. Thanksgiving declares that God's worth is not tied only to what He does next, but also to what He has already done. It honors Him not just as a problem solver, but as a constant presence. This posture changes the atmosphere of prayer, replacing anxiety with peace and impatience with assurance. Gratitude also humbles the heart. It removes the illusion of self-sufficiency and reminds you that survival, provision, and opportunity are not guaranteed. When you thank God before asking Him, you confess that everything you already have came through His grace. This humility opens the heart to receive more because pride closes doors that gratitude keeps open. Thanksgiving prepares the soul to receive without arrogance and to wait without frustration. There is a spiritual alignment that happens when gratitude leads. Complaints lose their volume. Fear loses its grip. The mind becomes anchored in truth rather than overwhelmed by uncertainty. You may still bring your needs, your pain, and your desires, but they come from a place of trust instead of panic. Gratitude does not deny struggle. It places struggle in perspective. When prayer begins with thanksgiving, it transforms expectations. Instead of demanding immediate answers, you learn to rest in God's timing. You recognize that the same God who handled yesterday's battles is capable of managing today's concerns. This awareness allows patience to grow because gratitude teaches you that delay is not abandonment. Making gratitude the foundation of prayer changes daily life as well. It trains the heart to notice grace in ordinary moments, to see God's hand not only in miracles, but in maintenance. Breath, peace of mind, protection, and opportunity are no longer overlooked. They become reasons to praise. From that place, requests rise naturally, without pressure, without fear, and without doubt, flowing from a heart that trusts the one who has already proven faithful time and time again. Every scar carries a story, and every survival carries meaning. What you lived through was not meant to destroy you, even when it felt overwhelming at the time. The pain, the loss, the disappointment, and the struggle did not come to announce purpose, yet purpose was quietly being formed within them. The fact that you are still standing is not accidental. It is evidence that something greater was at work in the midst of what tried to break you. Scars are reminders of moments when life pressed hard and survival required more strength than you thought you had. They represent seasons when giving up seemed reasonable and continuing felt impossible, yet you continued. Not because it was easy, but because grace held you together when your own strength ran out. Survival is proof that God intervened at critical moments, sustaining you through circumstances that could have ended your journey. What once felt like damage becomes testimony with time. The scars you carry are not marks of shame, they are signs of endurance. They reveal that pain did not have the final word. Instead of erasing you, adversity shaped you. Instead of silencing you, hardship refined your voice. The very places where you were wounded are now places where wisdom lives. You see differently, love differently, and understand others more deeply because of what you endured. Purpose often hides within pressure. During difficult seasons, character is formed, compassion is deepened, and strength is developed. God uses survival to prepare you for impact. What you overcame equips you to reach others who are still struggling. Your experience becomes a bridge, allowing hope to pass from your life into theirs. The pain you survived now gives you authority to speak with authenticity and empathy. Survival also teaches reliance. It strips away illusions of control and reveals how dependent life truly is on grace. In surviving what you could not fix, you learned to trust what you could not see. Faith grew not because circumstances were favorable, but because God proved faithful when circumstances were not. That trust becomes part of your purpose, anchoring you in future storms. Every scar also confirms timing. If events had unfolded differently, you might not be here. If protection had arrived too late, survival would not have been possible. The precision of that timing points to intention. God did not merely help you recover, He ensured you remained alive long enough to fulfill what He placed within you. Purpose is not always loud or immediate. Sometimes it unfolds quietly through survival, shaping who you are before revealing what you are meant to do. The fact that you endured is proof that your life carries weight, meaning, and direction. What you lived through did not disqualify you, it qualified you. Survival itself is evidence that God has been at work, turning what was meant to end you into a foundation for something greater still unfolding.